the most important question probably in all of this. And the one that will cause the deepest level of disagreement. And so will be probably the most difficult to work through. My personal opinion is that nobody should be swept off the streets if they don't want to be. But I also believe that we have a right to set parameters around being on the streets. So I think that the housing, should be made available. So the people who want it should just go into it, right? That's an easy one. There's going to be people who don't trust the government. They don't, they've seen other stuff that's being built or has been built, or they've tried to be in a shelter and it's been terrible. And they're going to say, I don't want any part of that, right? And so for those people, the strategy is, why don't you come see these, right? This is different. This is a different kind of governance. This is a different kind of housing. So why don't you come try it, please? And if you still feel the same way, then you can go back to the streets. And then we get to the last group of people, the people who just want to be on the streets. If you want to be on the streets, you can have a tent, and that's it. So you can sleep outside, and I understand why people want to sleep outside. It's actually a really beautiful thing, and I enjoy camping. I don't live camping, but I could honestly see how some people would get very comfortable with that, and we've talked to people who are very comfortable on the streets. I don't think that we should remove them from the streets forcefully. But I would tell the people who think that we should, who think that the streets are public space and that they should be reserved for people who want to walk on the sidewalks and have clean, safe streets and all that, I would tell them, isn't a fair compromise that we just ask that anybody who is on the streets restrict their area to the size of their tent and have nothing outside of their tent? Wouldn't that be a fair compromise? And then if they violate any other kinds of laws, we can deal with that on an as-needed basis. So I think one of the biggest issues right now is the encampments. These big areas of sidewalks, underpasses, etc., that have been taken over by people and their stuff. And I understand why they don't have anywhere else to go. So I would never take somebody away from an encampment and put them somewhere else that's not shelter. And that's why I disagree with the anti-encampment ordinance that the city council passed. I think that was a very unfair and inhumane thing to pass by saying that we're banning encampments, but by the way, we don't have enough housing for you. It's just, you can't do that. Okay, well, where do I go? I don't know. What is that? Mm-hmm. So I don't agree with that. But I do agree that once we have housing for people, once we have enough temporary shelter, at least good temporary shelter, then we can start to be a little bit more restrictive on what we're willing to allow in public space. So now I would feel much more comfortable restricting encampments with a bunch of stuff and trash and all that, right? Then I would say, look, you can be outside, but here's the parameters. Here's your tent. Tent can be this big. You can have everything you want inside the tent. The tent can be up maybe between the hours of 8 p.m. and 8 a.m., but outside of that, you got to pack it down. There's different ways that we could set that up, but this is going to be a point of discussion. I can't pretend like I'm just going to be able to go in here and say, everybody has housing, now everybody off the streets. There's going to be a lot of people who say, no.
Yeah, well, no
right?
parts.
So that's also, kind of the way that I'd like to frame our campaign, maybe as opposed to others, is to say that, We have the ideas we have, but we're not going to operate like dictators. And we're certainly not going to operate like a police state. We are not going to use the police as a tool for policing homelessness, right? If there's violence, if there's anything that goes beyond just homelessness, then of course there's, then we have laws and we have order from that. But we've just got to be really careful here because people's livelihoods are at stake.